Here we are at the Botanical Gardens of Leicester. So Leicester Botanical Gardens, and I'm outside the knoll here. We've got these beautiful Edwardian houses. We're going to be looking at sort of key plants and botanical features. Botanical gardens go way back to the 1600s in Italy, and it's great that we've kept these sort of gardens for, you know, for interest, for science, for botany. So let's go and have a look and see what we can find. So we've got these fabulous Edwardian sort of windows there with the mullions going up, and then you can see there's a beautiful kind of downpipe there. Look at the way that it's finished there. This is arts and crafts, and you've got a little bit of detail on there. You've got a wisteria just growing up around it. And then we come down, got that beautiful door. There's a lovely Euphorbia caracus there, which has got lovely architecture against the York paving. We've got some Acanthus spinosus just in front of that to give a bit more architecture. On the side of the building we've got these incredible figs and cotinus, and there's some Lavatera just down by the side of it as well. But look how good that fig looks against the building. Got some very interesting trees here. We've got the lovely Quercus roba fastigiata or Quercus roba costeri. Beautiful pyramidal tree. Beautiful bark here on that Betula divorica. Of course, a botanical garden is full of interpretation. You can see here a plant called poisoned ivy, Sequoiadendron radicans. Look what the damage that can do to you. Really toxic. In this little area we've got the Quercus ilex, the home oak, and or the evergreen oak as it's sometimes called, and we go from this one into an interesting tree. This is Pterocarya fraxinifolia. Ptero, if you think of pterodactyl, you've got these sort of wings, so it's wing nut. So Pterocarya, wing nut, fraxinifolia, foliage like an ash tree. So there you can see foliage like an ash tree. Pterocarya fraxinifolia. This is a fabulous tree. This is the sugar maple, Acer saccharum, and you think of saccharin, sweet and things like that, but this is the one that you can get the sort of maple syrup out of. So beautiful autumn colour. Some of the red oaks. This actually looks to me like Quercus coccinea, and it's just going into that sort of browny and then eventually red. There's Quercus rubra as well, not quite as cut-leafed as this, which is an interesting plant. So we've got this Edwardian area, and there's some really nice sort of joists, and the rafters, if you look at the way they've done them, it's quite unusual. Kind of swept the ends up to make it more oriental. We've got some nice plants growing up the pillars. So we've got Trachlospermum, we've got some wisteria, there are vines growing up it, jasmine, there's a purple vine, and this makes a nice area as we go through here. And as we pass through, we get to a junction, and we can either look to the right, which has got an Edwardian garden with the bell there and a very formal koi carp pool, which has been nicely done, or we can look behind and we can see here we've got a knot garden. So a fairly traditional style knot garden, typical of sort of Henry VIII sort of period of time, Tudor time. So a fairly simple one, and with a bit of bedding inside, but quite interesting on the brick paving and the mill wheel in the middle. Collection of trees as we pass up this way. We've got the honey locust Gladitia triacanthus. This is a nice one. See a nice gold form honey locust, and then we go on a bit further and we've got the Colruyteria paniculata. You can see their lovely pinnate leaves, slightly serrated, lovely bark, and a little bit further on we've got a very nice tree with Clearodendron trichotomum. Just look at the berries on that. That's beautiful. Lovely star shape. And then you've got in the center there, you've got the sort of almost like cerise colored ovary walls, and then the leaves have got a lovely purple vein on them. Here there's some herbaceous borders. We've got the Polygonum amplexicol, or Persicaria amplexicol. You've got Veronicastrum in the background there, and as we swing around you can see in the distance there are Phormiums, Miscanthus and Sedums, or Hylotelethum. Key features of a botanical garden is that they often have collections of genera, and in this case we've got a fuchsia collection, and you can see, looking around, a terrific array of different fuchsias, and many are from Central and South America. Chile is one of the places that has a lot of fuchsias. The Magellan Straits, of course, we have Fuchsia magellanica from the Magellan Straits, and it's quite an interesting plant because when you look at the flower you can see it hangs down and it's pollinated by hummingbirds, which can stay in flight because their wings move up and down so fast, and they can pollinate it. The other thing which is quite interesting, after the fuchsia is flowered, it leaves behind a fruit, and the fruit can be used in jams. So very nice plant, and it's getting hardier, and if it can survive 5 winters in the UK and be okay, it's regarded as hardy. So we're now into the tropical house, and you can see there are birds of paradise there, Strelitzia regia. We've got some lovely bird's nest ferns, Asplenium nidus, begonias. I can see some mimosas up ahead, and cypress, and quite an interesting little display. And as we turn around you can see you've got some Spanish moss, Tillandsia, and as we go down you've got the maidenhair fern. The cacti house, we've got Echinocactus, absolute superb specimen. Look how perfectly symmetrical that one is. And then we've got the Ferrocactus. We've got some mammillarias, you can see it would have had a ring of flowers. Got the prickly pear, Opuntia, and that one you can actually eat the fruit of the prickly pear. It can be a bit of a weed, a problem in parts of the world. And there you go, you can see there the fruits. See the fruits there that can be eaten. Amazingly, some of the cacti are very hairy, and the hairs reflect ultraviolet light to stop them damaging the plant. And here we have a Stapelia, so here we have a Stapelia, and this one is highly fragrant, like rotting flesh, and it gets pollinated by moths at night. So a lot of these Stapelias get pollinated either by moths or flies, which think it's a bit of rotting flesh, but often by moths. So it has to be heavily scented, but a beautiful flower on that Stapelia. Fantastic collection of ferns in here. Encephalatus, we've got the cycad. That's one that has male and female on separate plants. We've got the stag's head fern, Platycerum bifurcatum. So a very nice collection here of cycads in particular, which looks great. And this is sometimes called the paintbrush plant. Can you think why? This incredible plant, Bucornia, which can store an incredible amount of water in the base of the stem. Fabulous tree we got here is Pyrrhus salicifolia pendula, the weeping silver pear. And if you go up close to it, you'll probably see some of the pears actually on the tree. If we look up here, you can see there are a few sort of pears up there, and a sliccifolia coarse foliage like the willow, and the fact it's weeping, but a beautiful tree. In the distance here we've got the lovely sweet chestnut, the variegated form, Castanea sativa argentea marginata, that one. Very nice, really nice birch. And then we swing round to an incredible, beautiful sandstone rockery. You can see some autumn crocuses, colchicums in the foreground, and in the background you've got an array of incredible maples. You've got the Acer palmatum dissectomach purpureum to the right, and all these like a bit of acidic soil. You've got the strawberry tree just in between, Arbutus unido, and you've got the this nice sort of golden Acer Shishuanum, and so that's the lovely gold maple. And so all these plants like or prefer slightly acidic soil. Here we've got a Judas tree, you can see there, with the sort of pods hanging down, and the leaves are what we call reniform, kidney shaped leaves. So really good collections of different plant families. Here we've got some Malvaceae. This is an abutilon here. You can see the female coming out the middle there with the male anthers on it. The Ficus carica there, really digitate one. A great form that is. And then we've got a lovely abutilon here, Kentish bell. Just look at the flowers on that one. Got some more abutilons, Mega botanicum there up against the wall. And then we got some Rhodopocus nyphophia, and we've got the lovely Zolcineria here in the foreground, Californica. Very good specimen of Magnolia grandiflora, this from Bull Bay, and just look at the fruit it's left behind. And as we swing round, you've got a Prunus camellifolia, that curly leaf on the prunus. And Cotoneaster here looks really good in that position, and we've got some yuccas on the end of the building. This is the Acer griseum, the paper bark maple. Just look at that. You've just got to kind of almost touch that and just feel that really good. Beautiful Taxodium distichum there, swamp cypress. Just starting to change colour, and that loses its leaves like the metasequoia and the larch. So it's a conifer that loses its leaves. We're now entering the limestone rockery. You can see this beautiful water-worn limestone as we go through. Lovely Chamaecyparis obtusa, Nana type. We've got the willow here, lovely dwarf willow. And then you've got the lovely Royal Fern Osmunda regalis with maples. But the tree I wanted to have a look at in a minute, not the Picea albertiana conica, but the one tree is above over here, which is a bristlecone pine. And the bristlecone pines are some of the oldest ever in the world. We're talking 3,500 years old. So that's a bristlecone pine, which is quite interesting. A Christmas tree there, Abies nordmania, the normal, you know, the Christmas tree that doesn't drop its leaves, so it can get pretty big. Area tucked away in this garden is the Alpine house, and this is like a little display house where you can plunge your alpines into a sand bed, and you can keep them in over winter. Lots of ventilation is required, because if you think about it, alpines growing on mountains are going to get loads of wind and circulation. So a lovely little display. Obviously not the best time. The best time is probably around about April, May, when they're really flowering to attract insects, because they have a short span in the natural before the glaciers return. So they have to be brightly coloured to attract pollinators. But there's one or two interesting things. A lovely peony down there. A lovely red flower. So we're now entering an interesting place called the Poison Garden, and you've got things like deadly nightshade, atrapa, belladonna, atropine, where people used to make their pupils bigger by dropping into their eyes. We've got cherry apricot there, and that contains cyanide. So one or two interesting things. Let's go and have a look. So in the old days, what they had was what was called a doctrine of signatures, and what that said, if it looked like a part of your body, they believed that it would heal that part of your body. Like here we got lungwort, and we'll have a look at one or two others. We've got wormwood, artemisia, absinthium, and of course that makes absinthe, which is used in drinks. It's quite a bitter taste, but it's also supposed to help with tumours in the intestine as well. So that's wormwood. We enter a formal area where you've got this good avenue of lavandula. There's rosemary hedges as well to the side in this herb sort of area, and then you've got a mulberry tree to the right, and there's a newly planted one to the left. So quite a sort of a formal area to offset that really nicely designed Edwardian house. Interesting feature of this little herb garden is it's got two Fibonacci designs. If you look at a shell or someone's ear, you can see it's under divine proportions. So this Fibonacci series, you find it in music, but if we swirl that round, that's like looking in someone's ear or a seashell. Equally, we see it when you look down a flower like a sunflower, helianthus, or something like that. You get this incredible mathematical proportions, divine proportions, like the golden mean. We can see some of the divine proportions. You might remember that Leonardo da Vinci recognized the parts of the human body are in golden ratios. Top of head to fingertips is 0.618 of body height. You can see that there's the spiral and how it all nicely switches round like a piece of DNA helix. It's the same on a cone, and there you've got your ear and a nautilus shell, even your teeth. And here's the man himself, Fibonacci, who on the left there you can see is creating a golden rectangle, again divine proportions. So the relationship of this little piece here to the overall, you've got a relationship there. If you divide the one and the other, the big one into the little one, 0.618 is that divine proportion. This is a stunning Acer saccharum, the sugar maple, and again this is the one that you can make maple syrup from. You have to drill a hole, insert a little bit like a tube, and then the liquid comes out, and from about 45 litres of sap it's boiled down to make 1 litre of maple syrup. What a fantastic autumn colour though. The plant order bed, so as we go through here, botanists and a lot of botanical gardens put plants that are in the same family. So here, for example, we have what is called Asteraceae. You can see there are asters. They've got a daisy-like flower. Artemisia has a daisy-like flower over there. It's gone over a little bit, of course, because we're quite late in the year. But as we work our way around, we'll see one or two other plants that also have this aster sort of formation. So on the far side there on the ground, we've got some centurea, the cornflower. You just see them there. And anything with that, whether it be a daisy, a dandelion, a sunflower, they're all in Asteraceae. And then round to my right, I've got some plants which are in, you can see the bamboo family, bamboos and grasses, so that's Poaceae. It used to be Graminae, Miscanthus, Stipa, Philostachys are in that family. If you want big leaves on your foxglove tree, then of course you have to cut it back. Look at the size of those leaves on that Polonia tomentosa. So coppicing it hard back will produce massive leaves. The fantastic betula as we come here, this betula, I think it's Medwellii, really good branching from that one. Vine growing here, this is Omphalopsis bravipedunculata climbing up that pittosporum. You can see lovely cerise coloured berries on it. Really nice plant that. This is the very vicious Colletia cruciformis. The Christ thorn Colletia, really vicious spikes on it. A little bit of cypress here. This is a sedge, and you can tell a sedge because it's got a triangular cross section as opposed to a rush which is cylindrical. It's quite an interesting tree. This is the shagbark hickory, Carrier ovata, has fantastic autumn colour, and then you get the nuts, hickory nuts on it as well. Now into giant redwood territory. Sequoiadendron giganticum, the biggest trees in the world, of course, are there in California. But here we've got a very, very interesting tree. Just take a look at this one. This is a weeping redwood. So you've got a pendulous redwood, Sequoiadendron giganticum pendula, and look at it, what a fab tree it is, and it looks like a dinosaur. It's just incredible, and when you move it, the whole tree moves. So it's a fascinating tree. Let's just have a look and just have a little, if I just literally touch the end here, and the whole thing moves, and incredible the strength of that tree. Beautiful specimen, this. Well, that's just a quick look at Leicester Botanics. I hope that's given you a little insight. There's loads more here, thousands more trees and things to look at. So why not pop down? It's at Glebe Road down in Leicester, and come and have a look. See you next time.